Okay guys, welcome back. So we've been doing a lot of wedge testing recently.
Yes.
We've obviously, in doing these wedge tests, we've come up with a lot of different ideas and different ways in which we can explain to you guys some of the things that we sort of test when we're going through the fitting process and different ways in which we can sort of extract performance and different amounts of performance from different players. And one that we wanted to dig a little bit more into, you know, literally, is the high bounce versus low bounce in a slightly different way. You know, we've done it from a testing, like which one works for you better, low bounce or high bounce. But I don't know if we've ever tested them in such a fashion that we're trying to really show the difference that, you know, that a low bounce wedge can make and a high bounce wedge can make.
Well, it's like never really dug into why it makes a difference to the spin and launch. Like we've gone obviously the route of soft conditions, firm conditions, and things like that. But to actually get into this with the wedge board there and say this is exactly what's occurring with these two different wedges, that's new, I think, for us.
The reason sort of we went with GC Quad when it first came out was the ability to exactly pinpoint strike. That's what we're going to do here,
100%,
right? So we're going to watch how the strike is influenced by bounce. So we've taken two wedges, Glide 3.0, a very popular one from recent
Apparently
tests.
they're selling quite well.
So we've taken a low bounce 60, the high bounce 58. So the low bounce is 60.06 that we've moved to 59.05.
Right, 5 degrees of bounce.
1 degree stronger, 1 degree less bounce.
Gotcha.
Okay, we've taken a 58.14, added 1 degree of loft, which adds 1 degree of bounce. So we've ended up with 59.15, 59.5.
10 full degrees of bounce difference in these wedges.
And some different kind of shaping towards the kind of back end. This one's a little bit wider, and you know, so on and so forth. That one has a little bit more relief. So if you do open it, you know, you have the ability to sort of keep the low profile of the head.
Cool.
So guys, basically what we're digging into is gear effect. That's what it comes down to. We're digging into how does the sort of bounce influence gear effect. Most of you are probably not aware that the gear effect on the striking of a pitch is really what changes launch and spin.
Gear effect, for myself included, is always the driver. I towed it geared back left and vice versa, and low and high. And we've had some good videos on that, but no, I don't think anyone would really be aware of how much it does to the wedge.
That's right. So striking it high, what does it do? Well, we know what it does. You know, the club head has a center of gravity, a CG, a stable point. You know, anything opposing that stable point will cause the head to twist. Whether that's high, it'll tilt it up, low, tilt it down, toe, strike it open, heel, strike it closed, or tilt it closed. And subsequently, we will get reactions from the gearing of the spin. So the low strike will tilt the head down, the spin will gear up. So that's where the low spin checker comes from. If you catch that one and you know, people call it, you know, say they nipped it, that's basically what that is.
Means.
So you catch it a little low in the head, the flight comes out low and has loads of spin on it. The ball's sitting up a little bit on a fluffy lie, you catch it high in the head, what does it do? Well, it comes out soft. And, you know, we get a little bit of head tilt and we kind of get forward spin. So the ball hits the green if it gets there, because it comes out a bit dead, and then it'll take off a bit. So we're going to kind of show that in this test.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's amazing to think about a pitch tilting and that's in fact spinning the ball. Like it's really cool when you think about it. It really is.
It definitely is. And this will be a good one, guys, and hopefully will help you and maybe kind of cause you to rethink, you know, when you go about buying the wedges and other things. I think the wet wedge test was something to think of. This is something to think of.
And potentially more significant, let's be honest. I mean, the wet wedge test was really interesting.
True.
But I think we said it in the video, there's other stuff that affects spin. Bounce is a big one. Like this is going to be a big one.
Strike point and influence and strike point through the bounce is a big one. So why don't we start you off, Matty boy, with some, let's go high bounce.
Okay, so we're going to go high bounce to start with.
59.15.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we're going to do it from 2 yardages.
Yes.
We're going to do a kind of pitchy one at 40 yards and then a slightly longer one at about 75.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of your half shot.
Yeah.
what did I say last week? Enough wedge testing for a while.
That's right.
Then we're like, if we do wedge testing, let it be simple, and then we did this. But it was pretty damn interesting.
I think the kind of objective was achieved.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to me just how shots felt, and how knowing what bounce you had, knowing what turf you were hitting off, and the length of shot. It was interesting. It was just kind of a little bit of an eye-opener for me.
I think when you have such a diverse following and sort of subscription base, like we obviously do from so many places out there, when people see what the results were from the firm and soft turf, they'll be able to identify the result based on what their conditions are and sort of apply them.
Well, it's like Southern Ontario kind of in the wet season, Texas.
Definitely.
Those two places couldn't be more different in turf conditions. Scotland.
West of Scotland, go inland, play Loch Lomond,
totally
go
different.
down the coast and play Turnberry. You're gonna require different sets of tools if, based on what we've seen, the results vary this much. So
very true.
This is where we started, Matty.
This was the beginning.
We started with a high bounce versus a low bounce, and we kind of thought that was going to be it.
It was something.
Little did we know.
So this was the standard 40-yard shot off of
soft turf.
Off the soft turf.
Yeah. And we have a couple of different turfs, actually 6 different turfs that we hit off of.
Really?
But this is the 2 main ones we use. So what we saw was a bit of a variance in strike point.
Right.
Like we alluded to, I think, a little bit with the bounce, and with regards to, obviously, one lower bounce will allow the club to continue to sink into the softer turf a little bit more.
And hence get the ball striking higher on the face.
That's clearly going to strike it a little bit higher. The more bounce we have, the kind of less that will allow that club to dig down into the strike, and we're going to hit it a little bit lower in the face.
Good.
So that gearing was very evident. The spin rate was different. Interestingly enough, the average launch angle wasn't all that different, which I was quite surprised at, but it definitely showed from a spin rate perspective.
Yeah. And we could do this test tomorrow. You might see a bit different launch, but close enough.
Perhaps, yeah. We probably saw more consistent. Now, this is where it's interesting for me. When we went to firm turf, I expected more conclusive results.
Yes.
Because obviously, there's only so much we can get down into that firm turf. You're just going to bounce off of it.
Eventually, you bottom out.
That's right. Same way if you're pitching in the links, pitching in firm, conditions, your striking kind of has to be a little bit more, a little bit closer to the ball. You don't get away with that early entry into the turf and skipping or kind of sliding into the strike zone. So definitely saw the launch angle change. So the low bounce, again, go back into the strike.
Yeah.
Both strikes were quite a lot lower. So
yes, they were very low.
We were not able to see the club down as much into the turf, so the strikes are going to be a bit lower. And as a result of that, we saw higher launch, lower spin, lower launch, higher spin, exactly what the gearing would do.
And this is interesting because a high bounce wedge off of firm turf sounds like a bad idea. And I'm not going to say you're going to go fit people for that, because you probably wouldn't. But interestingly enough, you would look at that pitch conditions and go, that's quite nice.
Quite nice.
You dropped your launch a bit and you raise your spin, but it's all strike.
It's all strike point.
All strike.
And there was certain consistency challenges through this test as well, because when you strike it away from the CG at times like we did, when you start straying that low in the head, sure, we're impressed by the launch and spin, but we're also getting challenges of retaining enough ball speed.
True.
How many times did you hit a lovely pitch and it came up way short?
That is a great point. Yeah,
Right?
It was like a high spinning shot.
Yeah.
Head speed seemed good.
Yeah.
Output was crap,
It was
like
lower.
it didn't go anywhere.
That's right, and a lot of that was the kind of too low of a strike.
Interesting.
Okay, so let's then increase the length of shot. So we were at 40, now we're going to go 70.
Yep.
We're back to the soft turf, so let's look at those two. Interesting. So as we increase the speed, the gap of the strike point really widens.
Yeah, so it's more, it had more opportunity to get into the ground, I guess, with more speed.
Yep. So let's look at the ball data on that one. Interestingly, for as much as the separation was on the strike points, it was actually not crazy amounts of difference.
Yeah.
Again, high bounce still coming out for you to be a little bit higher spin.
Higher spin.
That's interesting.
It is quite
I don't know if
interesting,
we kind of would always see that for you, that, you know, something higher bounce would always spin much higher for you. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But it's back to the same thing, right? I mean, it's what gave the strike point a little bit low of center, which we know is kind of like your spin zone, basically, for the wedge.
Yep. Let's go into the firm turf, where again it's a little bit more of a conclusive result from a launch and spin perspective, in favour again of the high bounce. So gearing is a big factor here when it comes to obviously influence and launch and spin.
Yeah,
that's a big kind of takeaway from this test, as we probably assumed it would be at the top of the show.
It's still so much more than I would have expected, though. I really think the way that club, and a lot of what I learned is like what we talked about in the wet wedge test.
Yeah.
The amount of club that gets in the ground before the ball. Like, you may think you're hitting crisp wedges, you're not. Like, I was hitting shots that I felt like I chunked them, but then you look at the screen, strike was pretty good, and spin rate was retained. So that interaction with the ground, whether the low bounce or the high bounce ends up being better for you, I think you just got to be aware that you aren't really picking the ball as clean as you may think you are.
Yeah. So I think this is good data for fitters watching,
100%.
People who are in the game and sort of in the industry and sort of trying to obviously figure out how to fit wedges, how to sort of pick apart the details of the wedge. This is a really good way to, you know, encourage people to do more wedge testing. I think for you guys back home, analysing your turf conditions, that what you play in and what you need to sort of go and sort of select or go test next time you go to a fitting studio. I think it's all good information to arm yourself with to make 100%. The best decision.
It's another dimension to wedge fitting, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
And I know our outdoor season is ending, but hopefully we can slate a little bit of this for some bunker time.
It'd be nice,
in the spring. I know we got into it a little bit, but I'd love to do this type of in-depth situation in the bunker.
I know.
With both of these. Such a perfect wedge to test with, because 10 degrees of bounce difference, but the same loft.
That's right.
Is kind of gives you this nice clear-cut difference.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much to go to with this. We're almost leaving a few things out with regards to. I mean, we haven't even. We've basically been discussing for the most point gear effect.
Yep.
We've not really touched upon really the influence that the club has on sort of producing a certain spin loft, which is obviously when it comes down to it, you know, that's the other major variable when it comes down to the gap between angle of attack and the delivered loft. So,
because you noticed a couple times where you thought, you're kind of getting more delivered loft on one or the other.
With the low bounce.
With the low bounce.
Yeah.
So you're right, that's a kind of a whole other dimension.
That's a whole different thing. So, you know, we can go down
we'll save that for
the rabbit hole again. But, you know, isolating strike point as a variable which influences launch and spin, I think is the takeaway today. And kind of what that can do.
100%.
Right.
Love it.
That was meaty, but I think we got to a good round conclusion with it.
Yes.
I think, you know, it certainly made it worth it for us.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But I'll say it again. We're going to take a break from wedge testing for a little while.
You heard it here first. Okay. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let us know what you think of this sort of type of testing. You know, is this the type of stuff that you guys like to see? I'm going to assume the answer's probably going to come yes, because last time we kind of said that we enjoy doing the nerdy things. The sort of
the answer was yes.
The answer was yes. We do too. We like it as well, which is music to our ears. That's for sure.
Agreed.
So we hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.